The alarm bells rang through the massive ship like angry metal birds. Admiral Kexthara moved his 6 scaly arms quickly across the control panel, his yellow eyes wide with worry. The Eternal Dominion was the biggest ship in the Zalonian Empire, and nothing should make him feel scared. But today was different. "Report," he hissed through his sharp teeth. His voice echoed in the command center where dozens of alien crew members worked at their stations. "Sir, we have a big problem," said Science Officer Nexvala, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "There's a huge ship coming toward us. It's bigger than anything we've seen before." Kexthara's tail slapped against the floor. In his 300 years of service, he had never seen his crew look so nervous. The Zalonian Empire ruled over 40 star systems. They had the strongest fleet in the galaxy. Nothing should make them afraid. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen flickered to life. In the darkness of space, a massive shape moved slowly toward them. It looked old and broken, like a ship that had been floating dead in space for thousands of years. But the energy readings made no sense. "The ship is huge, Admiral," reported Sensor Officer Kexmyra. "It's at least 5 times bigger than our flagship. But it looks like it's falling apart." Kexthara studied the image. The ship had a strange shape, not like anything in their records. It seemed to be made of different parts stuck together as if someone had built it from pieces of other ships. Dark metal covered its surface, and no lights showed from its windows. "Where did it come from?" he asked. "We don't know, sir. It just appeared on our sensors an hour ago. It's moving very slowly, like it has no power." Down in the engine room, Jake Morrison wiped sweat from his face and tried to look busy. He wore the gray uniform of a maintenance worker, but his blue eyes watched everything around him. The other workers were all aliens, some with scales, some with fur, and some that looked like walking rocks. None of them knew that Jake was actually a human from Earth. Jake had been working on this ship for 6 months. The Zalonian Empire thought he was from a small planet called Nexus Prime. They had no idea that humans even existed. That was exactly what Earth wanted. He listened to the alien voices around him, understanding every word thanks to the translator chip in his brain. The crew was scared, and Jake knew why. The ship they were all worried about was the UES Liberty, humanity's greatest achievement. "Did you hear?" whispered Vexgola, a worker with green skin and too many arms. "The command crew thinks it might be a ship from the old wars. Maybe it's been floating dead in space for 1,000 years. "That's impossible," replied another worker. "Nothing survives that long in space," Jake smiled to himself. If only they knew the truth. The Liberty wasn't old or dead. It was Earth's most advanced warship, and it was coming to change everything. Far away. On the bridge of the UES Liberty, Admiral Lisa Hayes stood with her hands behind her back. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and calm green eyes. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. The ship hummed with power, but from the outside, it looked like a broken piece of junk. "Report, Commander Chun," she said to the man at the tactical station. Commander Rick Chun looked up from his console. He was a serious man with black hair and careful eyes. "The disguise is holding perfectly, Admiral. Their sensors show us as a dead ship with no power. They have no idea what we really are." "Good," Admiral Hayes replied. "How long until we reach their position?" 4 hours at current speed," answered Lieutenant Danny Torres from the navigation station. He was young, maybe 25, with an easy smile that made everyone feel better. "Should we maintain the deception?" "Yes, let them think we're just space junk until we're ready to reveal ourselves." Dr. Susan Miller walked onto the bridge carrying a data pad. She was a small woman, with red hair and smart gray eyes. As the ship's expert on alien life, she had studied every species in the galaxy. "Admiral," she said, "I've been monitoring their communications. The Zalonian crew is very confused. They've never seen anything like our ship before." "That's because they think inside a box," Admiral Hayes replied. "They've been using the same technology for thousands of years. They never learned to think differently," Dr. Miller nodded. "The other galactic powers are the same way. They all use energy weapons and shields. They fight the same battles the same way, over and over. But humans are different. We adapt, we change. We find new ways to solve old problems. Chief Engineer Amy Rodriguez joined them from the engine room. She was a strong woman with dark hair and oil stains on her uniform. Admiral, all systems are ready. The moment you give the order, we can drop the disguise and show them what human engineering can do. How are our weapons? Asked Commander Chun. Perfect, Amy replied with a grin. The railguns are charged and ready. The point defense systems are online, and the new kinetic missiles are loaded and waiting. Admiral Hayes felt proud of her crew. They had trained for this moment for years. Earth had been preparing for first contact with the galaxy, but not the way most people expected. Instead of sending diplomats or scientists, they had built the most advanced warship ever created. The plan was simple, but brilliant. For decades, human scouts had been infiltrating alien ships and stations. They learned alien languages, studied their technology, and discovered their weaknesses. All while the galaxy remained unaware that humans existed. The aliens thought they were so advanced, so powerful. They had energy weapons that could destroy planets and shields that could stop almost anything. But they had never faced human creativity. "Sir," called Communications Officer Kevin Park, "we're receiving a transmission from the Zalonian flagship." "Put it on speaker," Admiral Hayes ordered, the bridge filled with the sound of alien voices speaking in their harsh language. Kevin's fingers moved over his console, and the computer translated the words. "Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Kexthara of the Zalonian Empire. You are entering our space without permission. Identify yourself immediately." Admiral Hayes smiled. "No response, Kevin. Let them worry a little longer." Back on the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Kexthara was getting angry. His claws scraped against his command chair as he waited for an answer that never came. "Sir, what should we do?" asked his second-in-command, a thin alien with purple skin. "Send a squadron to investigate," Kexthara decided. "If it's really a dead ship, we'll claim it for salvage. If it's not, ... double quote," he paused, his tail moving nervously. "If it's not, we'll destroy it." Jake Morrison heard the order and felt his heart beat faster. The moment was coming. Soon, the galaxy would learn that humans existed, and nothing would ever be the same. He quietly activated a small device hidden in his toolkit. It sent a signal across space, a message so brief that no alien scanner could detect it. But the Liberty's computers would understand. The message was simple: they're coming. On the Liberty's bridge, Kevin Park looked up from his station. "Admiral, we just received Jake's signal. The Zalonians are sending fighters to investigate us." Admiral Hayes nodded. "How many?" 12 fighters, approaching fast." "Perfect." She turned to her crew. "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to make history. In 1 hour, the galaxy will learn that Earth is not just another primitive planet. We are humanity, and we are here to stay." The Liberty continued its slow approach, looking like nothing more than space junk. But inside, the most advanced warship ever built prepared to reveal itself to a galaxy that had no idea what was coming. Squadron leader Vex Mora checked his weapon systems one more time. His fighter was sleek and fast, painted in the dark blue colors of the Zalonian Empire. Around him, 11 other pilots flew in perfect formation toward the mysterious ship. "Stay close," he told his squad through the radio. "We don't know what we're dealing with." Vex Mora had been flying for 20 years. He had fought in 3 wars and destroyed over 50 enemy ships, but something about this mission felt different. The unknown vessel looked dead, but his instincts told him to be careful. "Leader, this is Fighter 7, came a voice over the radio. "My sensors are picking up strange readings from that ship." "What kind of readings?" Vex Mora asked. "I don't know, sir. My computer says the energy patterns are impossible." Vex Mora frowned. Impossible was not a word pilots liked to hear. "All fighters, run full scans. I want to know everything about that ship before we get too close." On the Liberty's bridge, Lieutenant Danny Torres watched 12 small dots move across his screen. Each dot was a Zalonian fighter, coming straight toward them. The fighters were fast and dangerous, but Danny wasn't worried. He had seen what human technology could do. Contact in 15 minutes, he reported to Admiral Hayes. The Admiral stood calmly in the center of the bridge. Her crew worked quietly. Around her, each person focused on their job. They had trained for this moment for years, and everyone knew exactly what to do. "Commander Chun, are our weapons ready?" she asked. "All systems are online and waiting for your command," Rick Chun replied. His fingers moved over the tactical controls, checking each weapon one more time. "Amy, how are the engines?" Chief Engineer Amy Rodriguez looked up from her station. "Running at full power, Admiral. The moment we drop the disguise, we can show them what real speed looks like." Dr. Susan Miller stood next to the Admiral, watching the approaching fighters on the main screen. "They're scared," she said quietly. "Their formation is tight, but not because they're confident. They're flying close together because they're nervous." "Good," Admiral Hayes replied. "Fear makes people make mistakes." Communications Officer Kevin Park raised his hand. "Admiral, I'm picking up radio chatter from the fighters. They're talking about energy readings they can't understand." "Let them wonder," the Admiral said. "The longer they're confused, the better our chances." Back on the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Kexthara paced back and forth behind his command chair. His tail moved nervously and his 6 arms gestured as he spoke. "What are my fighters reporting?" he demanded. "Sir, they're confused," replied Communications Officer Kexthara. "Their sensors are showing energy patterns that don't match anything in our databases. That's impossible. Our sensors can identify any ship in the galaxy, yes, sir. But this one is different." Kexthara's yellow eyes narrowed. In 300 years of service, he had learned to trust his instincts. And right now, those instincts were screaming that something was very wrong. Down in the engine room, Jake Morrison continued to pretend to work while listening to the alien crew around him. They were all talking about the mysterious ship, and their voices were full of worry. "I heard the fighters can't figure out what kind of ship it is," whispered one worker. "Maybe it's from the old Empire," said another. "They say there are still ghost ships floating in space from the ancient wars." Jake almost smiled, if only they knew the truth. The Liberty wasn't from the ancient past. It was from the future, at least compared to the technology the aliens used. He checked his hidden communicator. Soon, Admiral Hayes would give the order to drop the disguise. When that happened, the galaxy would see human engineering for the first time. And nothing would ever be the same. Squadron leader Vex Mora was now only 5 minutes away from the unknown ship. Up close, it looked even stranger. The hull was covered in dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange shapes stuck out from the surface, and no windows showed any light inside. "Fighter 3, what do you see?" he asked. "It looks dead, sir. No power signatures, no movement, no lights. But my sensors keep saying there's something wrong. Wrong how?" "The energy readings don't make sense. It's like the ship is there and not there at the same time." Vexmora felt his scales prickle with fear. He had been flying long enough to know when something was dangerous, even if he couldn't explain why. "All fighters, charge weapons," he ordered. "If that thing moves, we shoot first and ask questions later." On the Liberty, Commander Chun watched the fighters approach. Each one was now within weapons range, but they hadn't opened fire yet. The aliens were being careful, just as Dr. Miller had predicted. "Admiral," he said, "the fighters are charging their weapons. They're ready to attack." "Perfect," Admiral Hayes replied. Kevin opened a channel to Jake Morrison. "Channel open," Kevin said. "Jake, this is Admiral Hayes. Are you ready?" Deep in the Zolonian ship, Jake heard the Admiral's voice in his earpiece. "Ready, Admiral. The crew here is scared and confused. Perfect time for the reveal." "Understood. Stand by." Admiral Hayes looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. These men and women represented the best of humanity. They were engineers, scientists, soldiers, and explorers, and they were about to make history. "All hands, this is the Admiral," she announced over the ship's radio. "In 60 seconds, we will drop our disguise and reveal ourselves to the galaxy. Remember, we are not here to start a war. We are here to show that Earth is ready to take its place among the stars." She paused, looking at each member of her bridge crew. "Danny, take us to full power." Amy, prepare to drop the holographic camouflage. Rick, target the lead fighter but do not fire unless I give the order. Yes, Admiral. They replied together. Squadron leader Vex Mora was now close enough to see details on the unknown ship's hull. It was massive, at least 10 times bigger than his fighter. Strange symbols were carved into the metal, symbols he had never seen before. Leader, I'm getting massive power readings, reported Fighter 7. That ship is not dead. It's very much alive. What do you mean? Vex Mora asked, but he already knew the answer. His own sensors were starting to show the same thing. Sir, energy levels are climbing fast. Whatever that ship is, it's waking up. Admiral Hayes counted down in her head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop the disguise, she ordered. Amy Rodriguez pressed a button on her console. All around the Liberty, holographic projectors shut down. The illusion of a dead, broken ship disappeared like smoke in the wind. In its place appeared something that made the Zolonian pilots gasp in shock. The Liberty was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Its hull was smooth and white, with blue lines running along its length. Weapons ports opened along its sides, and engines at its back glowed with blue fire. What is that thing? Screamed one of the pilots. Vex Mora stared at the ship in amazement. It was like nothing he had ever seen. The design was completely alien, but it was also somehow familiar. It looked like a weapon, but it was also graceful and elegant. All fighters, fall back, he ordered. Fall back now. But it was too late. The Liberty was already moving, turning toward the fighters with speed that should have been impossible for something so large. Its engines produced a blue glow that hurt to look at directly. On the Liberty's bridge, Admiral Hayes smiled. Now, they know, she said. Humanity has arrived. The fighters scattered in all directions, but the Liberty didn't chase them. It simply sat in space, its weapons pointed at the Zolonian flagship in the distance. Sir, Kevin Park reported, we're receiving emergency transmissions from the fighters. They're reporting to their command ship that we're not what we appeared to be. Let them report, Admiral Hayes said. It's time the galaxy learned the truth. Commander. Chun looked at his tactical display. The Zolonian flagship was 2 hours away, but he could already see other ships moving to join it. Admiral, enemy reinforcements are coming. Looks like at least 50 ships. Good, Admiral Hayes replied. The more ships they bring, the more impressive our demonstration will be. Dr. Miller checked her alien communication monitors. Admiral, panic is spreading through their fleet. They're calling this ship impossible, saying it breaks the laws of physics. That's because they've forgotten how to innovate, Admiral Hayes said. They've been using the same technology for so long that they can't imagine anything different. She looked at the main screen where the scattered fighters were, trying to regroup. Ladies and gentlemen, we have their attention. Now let's show them what humanity can really do. Admiral Kextara slammed his fist on the command console. His 6 arms moved quickly over the controls as he watched the reports come in from his scattered fighters. The mysterious ship had destroyed 3 of his best cruisers with weapons that made no sense. All ships, converge on my position, he ordered into his communicator. I want every vessel in this system to attack that human ship. His second-in-command, Commander Nexvala, looked worried. Sir, are you sure that's wise? We've already lost so many ships. I don't care, Kextara hissed. No single ship can defeat the entire Zolonian fleet. Numbers will win this battle. Across the star system, over 200 Zolonian ships began moving toward the Liberty. There were small destroyers, medium cruisers, and massive battleships. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a small planet. Together, they formed the largest fleet ever assembled in this sector of space. On the bridge of the Liberty, Admiral Hayes watched the enemy ships approach. Her tactical display showed red dots closing in from all directions. Any normal captain would be terrified, but Admiral Hayes looked calm and confident. Danny, how long until the entire fleet reaches us? She asked. Lieutenant Torres checked his navigation console. 2 hours, Admiral. They're coming from everywhere. Good, that gives us time to prepare our surprise. Commander Chun looked up from his weapons station. Admiral, are you sure about this? 200 ships is a lot, even for us. Admiral Hayes smiled. Rick, have you forgotten what we've been planning for the last 10 years? This isn't just about the Liberty. This is about showing the galaxy what human strategy really means. She turned to her communications officer. Kevin, send the signal. Kevin Park's fingers moved over his console. He sent a coded message that traveled instantly across the star system. The signal was brief, just a few numbers and letters, but it would change everything. Deep in the Zolonian flagship, Jake Morrison was still pretending to be a maintenance worker, but now he was moving through the ship's corridors heading toward the engine room. His simple tools hid advanced human technology that could cause serious damage. The alien crew around him was focused on the battle preparations. No one paid attention to one maintenance worker carrying a toolbox. They had no idea that Jake was about to sabotage their most important systems. He reached the main power control room and looked around. 2 guards stood at the entrance, but they were watching the battle reports on their screens. Jake pulled out what looked like a simple wrench, but it was actually a sophisticated hacking device. Excuse me, he said to the guards in perfect Zilonian language. I need to check the power couplings. Orders from the chief engineer. The guards barely looked at him. Make it quick, one said. We might need full power for the battle. Jake nodded and walked into the power room. The moment he was alone, he attached his device to the main control panel. Human technology began infiltrating the Zolonian computer systems, creating backdoors and weaknesses that could be exploited later. Meanwhile, something strange was happening in space around the Liberty. The emptiness between the stars began to shimmer and bend. Suddenly, shapes appeared from nowhere. They were sleek, black ships that seemed to be made of shadow and starlight. Admiral Hayes watched as her secret weapon revealed itself. Ladies and gentlemen, meet our friends. Commander Chun stared at the tactical display in amazement. Admiral, how many ships are there? 50 drone ships, each one controlled by our most advanced artificial intelligence. They've been hiding in this system for months, waiting for our signal. The drone ships were smaller than the Liberty, but they were fast and deadly. Each one was equipped with human technology that the aliens had never seen before. They moved in perfect coordination, like a school of fish swimming through space. Dr. Susan Miller studied the alien communications. Admiral, the Zelenians are detecting our drone ships. They're very confused. Their sensors can't figure out what they're looking at. That's because they're looking at the future, Admiral Hayes replied. These drones use quantum stealth technology. They can appear and disappear at will. The first group of Zolonian ships reached the battle area. 50 destroyers and cruisers formed a battle line and began firing their energy weapons at the Liberty. Bright beams of red and blue light crossed the darkness of space, but the Liberty was no longer where it had been. The ship moved with impossible speed, dodging the alien weapons like a dancer avoiding raindrops. Its engines produced a blue glow that seemed to bend space around it. Return fire, Admiral Hayes ordered. The Liberty's weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Instead of energy beams, it fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speed. The railgun slugs passed through the alien shields as if they weren't there, punching holes in the enemy ships. At the same time, the drone ships began their attack. They appeared from nowhere, fired their weapons, and disappeared again. The Zolonians tried to target them, but by the time they locked on, the drones were already gone. What's happening? Screamed one Zolonian captain over the radio. Our weapons can't hit them. They're using some kind of invisibility technology, another captain replied. But that's impossible. No one has that kind of power. Admiral Kekstara watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart. Ships that had served the Empire for decades were being destroyed by weapons that shouldn't exist. His tactical display showed chaos as captains reported impossible things. Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count them, reported his tactical officer. The enemy is using tactics we've never seen before. Impossible, Kekstara growled. No single race can defeat the entire Zolonian Empire. But even as he spoke, he watched another of his battleships explode. The human drone ships were working together in ways that made no sense. They seemed to know where his ships would be before his captains did. Jake Morrison was now in the main computer core of the Zalonian flagship. His human technology had given him access to their most important systems. He began uploading a virus. That would spread through the entire fleet network. The virus was designed to do one simple thing. It would make the Zalonian ships see enemies where there were none. Their targeting systems would become confused, and they would waste their ammunition shooting at empty space. Computer virus uploaded, Jake whispered into his communicator. Their fleet will start having targeting problems in 5 minutes. Back on the Liberty, Admiral Hayes received Jake's message. Perfect timing. Kevin, open a channel to the enemy fleet. Channel open, Admiral. Admiral Hayes stepped forward and began to speak. Her voice was broadcast to every Zalonian ship in the system. This is Admiral Lisa Hayes of the Terran Federation. You are fighting a battle you cannot win. She paused, letting her words sink in. We are humans from the planet Earth. We have been watching your empire for many years, learning your weaknesses and preparing for this moment. On the Zalonian flagship, Admiral Kexthara listened to the human voice with growing fear. Humans? I've never heard of such a race. That's because we didn't want you to, Admiral Hayes continued. We stayed hidden while we learned about the galaxy. We studied your technology, your tactics, and your limitations. And now we're ready to show you what real innovation looks like. The battle continued to rage around them. Zalonian ships tried to form defensive formations, but the human drones appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Every time the aliens thought they had a target, it vanished. Commander Chun reported the battle status to Admiral Hayes. We've destroyed 60 enemy ships and damaged 30 more. Our losses are 0. What about their flagship? The Admiral asked. Still intact, but Jake's virus is working. Their targeting systems are failing across the fleet. Admiral Hayes nodded. It's time to end this. All drone ships begin final assault pattern. The 50 drone ships moved into position around the Zalonian fleet. They formed a perfect sphere with the enemy ships trapped in the center. Then they began to fire all at once. The space around the Zalonian fleet became a storm of human weapons. Railgun projectiles and energy beams struck from every direction. The alien ships tried to defend themselves, but they were surrounded and outnumbered. Retreat! Admiral Kexthara finally ordered. All ships retreat to the outer system, but it was too late. The human drones had cut off their escape routes. The Zalonian fleet was trapped, and they knew it. Admiral Hayes spoke again over the radio. This is what happens when you underestimate humanity. We don't just fight with weapons. We fight with our minds. The remaining Zalonian ships began to surrender one by one. The greatest fleet in their empire had been defeated by a single human ship and 50 drones. The galaxy would never be the same. The space around the Zalonian fleet was filled with broken ships and floating metal. Admiral Kexthara stood on his bridge, watching his empire's greatest fleet fall apart before his eyes. Over half of his ships were gone, and the rest were badly damaged. Sir, we're receiving surrender signals from 12 more ships, reported his communications officer. The alien's voice shook with fear. Kexthara's 6 arms hung limp at his sides. In 300 years of service, he had never seen anything like this. A single human ship and 50 drones had destroyed the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. How is this possible? He whispered to himself. They're just one species. They can't be this advanced. His science officer looked up from her station with terror in her 4 eyes. Sir, I've been analyzing their weapons. The technology they're using shouldn't exist. It's like they've skipped forward 1,000 years in development. Jake Morrison walked onto the bridge of the Zalonian flagship. The alien crew was so shocked by their defeat that no one questioned why a maintenance worker was there. He moved calmly to the main communications console. Attention, Jake said in perfect Zalonian language. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran Federation Intelligence Service. Every alien on the bridge turned to stare at him. Admiral Kexthara's mouth fell open, showing his sharp teeth. You're human? Kexthara asked in disbelief. Yes, Jake replied. I've been living on your ship for 6 months, learning about your empire and your weaknesses. My people have been watching you for decades. He pressed several buttons on the communications panel. I'm now taking control of your ship's communication system. The galaxy needs to hear what humanity has to say. Jake's fingers moved quickly over the alien controls. Within seconds, he had connected to the communication networks of every major power in the galaxy. His signal would reach hundreds of worlds and thousands of ships. On the Liberty, Admiral Hayes received Jake's signal. Admiral, Jake has control of their communications. You can now speak to the entire galaxy. Admiral Hayes straightened her uniform and stepped forward. This was the moment she had been preparing for her entire career. Humanity was about to introduce itself to the stars. This is Admiral Lisa Hayes of the Terran Federation, she began. Her voice was calm and strong. I am human, from the planet Earth and what you call the Outer Rim. Across the galaxy, alien races stopped what they were doing to listen. On 1,000 worlds, beings with scales, fur, and stranger features heard about humanity for the first time. For the past 50 years, my people have been secretly studying the galactic community. We have lived among you, learned your languages, and observed your ways. We did this not to spy on you, but to understand you. She paused, looking around her bridge at the faces of her crew. These brave men and women had risked everything to make this moment possible. Today, we reveal ourselves because we can no longer remain hidden. Earth is ready to take its place among the stars, not as a conquered world, but as an equal partner. Admiral Kexthara listened to the human words with growing amazement. Equal partner? After what you've done to my fleet? Jake Morrison turned to face the Zelonian admiral. Your fleet attacked us first. We only defended ourselves. But we didn't want to destroy you completely. We could have done that easily. Impossible, Kexthara said. No single ship can defeat 200 vessels. You're right, Jake replied with a smile. One ship can't. But one ship plus 50 drones, advanced tactics, and careful planning can. That's what makes humans different. We don't just build bigger weapons, we think of better ways to use the weapons we have. On the Liberty, Dr. Susan Miller was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Admiral, we're getting responses from dozens of different species. Most of them are shocked, some are scared. But a few sound interested in talking. That's exactly what we hoped for, Admiral Hayes replied. Kevin switched to the diplomatic channel. It's time to start the real conversation. She spoke again to the galaxy. We know that our appearance today has been dramatic. We didn't want to start with violence, but the Zelonian Empire gave us no choice. We hope that other races will be more willing to talk than to fight. Commander Chun looked at his tactical display. Admiral, some of the Zelonian ships are powering down their weapons. I think they're ready to surrender. Good, open a channel to Admiral Kexthara. The main screen showed the interior of the Zelonian bridge. Admiral Kexthara looked older than he had a few hours ago. The defeat had broken something inside him. Admiral Kexthara, Admiral Hayes said, this battle is over. Your ships are defeated, but your crews are still alive. We're willing to let them go home if you agree to our terms. What terms? Kexthara asked quietly. Simple. You will return to your empire and tell them about humanity. You will explain that we are not your enemies, but we will not be your victims either. Earth demands respect, not submission. Kexthara was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. I understand, but my people will not believe this easily. They have ruled this part of the galaxy for thousands of years. Then it's time for them to learn that the galaxy is bigger than they thought, Admiral Hayes replied. Jake, you can return to your ship now. Jake Morrison smiled at the alien crew around him. It's been interesting working with all of you. You're good people, just trapped in a bad system. He walked to the nearest shuttle bay, where a small human ship was waiting for him. As he flew back to the Liberty, he looked at the battlefield around him. Broken Zelonian ships floated in space, but most of their crews were still alive. Humanity had won without becoming monsters. Back on Earth, President Carolyn Walsh stood in the Situation Room watching the battle reports come in. She was a tall woman with gray hair and wise eyes. Around her, the best minds on Earth waited to hear the results. "Madam President," said General Robert Clark, "Admiral Hayes reports complete success. The Zelonian fleet has been defeated with minimal casualties on both sides." President Walsh smiled. "Good, and the other galactic powers?" "They're all talking at once," replied Secretary of State Patricia Chun. "Some want to negotiate, some want to understand our technology, and some are probably planning their own attacks." "Let them come," the president said. "If they want to fight, they'll learn the same lesson the Zelonians did. But if they want to talk, we're ready for that too." On the Liberty, Admiral Hayes was receiving reports from across the galaxy. The news of humanity's existence was spreading like wildfire. Some species were excited about meeting a new race. Others were worried about what human technology might mean for the balance of power. "Admiral," Dr. Miller said, "I'm getting a communication request from the Altarian Republic. They want to establish diplomatic contact." "Accept it," Admiral Hayes ordered. "Let's see if we can make some friends." The main screen showed a blue-skinned alien with large, gentle eyes. "Greetings, humans," the alien said. "I am Ambassador Veltara of the Altarian Republic. We are very interested in learning about your people." "The feeling is mutual," Admiral Hayes replied. "We've studied your species and admire your peaceful approach to galactic politics." Chief Engineer Amy Rodriguez looked up from her console. "Admiral, we're getting similar requests from 6 other species. It looks like not everyone wants to fight us." "That's good news," Admiral Hayes said. "The galaxy is big enough for all of us to coexist." Lieutenant Danny Torres checked his navigation systems. "Admiral, orders from Earth. We're to return home immediately. They want to debrief us and plan our next moves." Admiral Hayes nodded. "Set course for Earth, full speed." As the Liberty turned toward home, Admiral Hayes looked back at the battlefield one last time. The Zelonian ships were already beginning their retreat to their home worlds. They would carry news of humanity's power throughout their empire. "Commander Chun," she said, "what do you think the galaxy will be like now that they know about us?" Rick Chun smiled. "Different, Admiral. Very different. For thousands of years, the same species have controlled everything. Now there's a new player in the game." "Not just a player," Admiral Hayes corrected him. "A game changer." The Liberty jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying its crew home to Earth. Behind them, the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had announced itself not with words, but with actions. They had shown that they could fight when necessary, but they preferred to build rather than destroy. Dr. Miller sent her final report to Earth. Humanity's introduction to the galaxy was a complete success. "We have shown that we are not primitive, not weak, and not afraid. The other species now know that Earth is a force to be respected." As the stars streamed past the Liberty's windows, Admiral Hayes felt proud of what they had accomplished. Humanity had taken its first step into a larger universe, and it had done so with strength, intelligence, and dignity. The age of human isolation was over. The age of humanity among the stars had begun. 3 months after the battle with the Zelonian fleet, the galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. On Earth, Admiral Hayes stood in the presidential briefing room, looking at a star map that showed the new reality of galactic politics. "Report?" "Admiral," President Walsh said from her chair at the head of the table. Around them sat the most important people in Earth's government, all waiting to hear how humanity's first contact was affecting the wider galaxy. "The situation is better than we hoped," Admiral Hayes began. 17 different species have requested formal diplomatic meetings. The Altarians want to share scientific knowledge. The Kethians are interested in trade agreements. Even some of the smaller empires are reaching out. Secretary of Defense William Carter looked worried. "What about the hostile reactions?" "I heard the Draconian Empire is building up their fleet." "They are," Admiral Hayes confirmed. "But they're also being very careful. Our demonstration with the Zelonians showed them that human technology is not something to underestimate." General Clark pointed to the star map. What about the Zolonians themselves? Are they planning revenge? Actually, no, Admiral Hayes said with a small smile. Admiral Kexthara has become something of a celebrity in their empire. He's been giving speeches about how humans fight differently than anyone else. Some of their military leaders are actually asking to study our tactics. President Walsh leaned forward. That's unexpected. What changed their minds? Jake Morrison, Admiral Hayes replied. He spent 6 more weeks with their fleet after the battle, helping them understand what happened. He showed them that we didn't want to destroy them, just defend ourselves. That made a big impression. Dr. Miller entered the room carrying a datapad. Madam President, I have the latest intelligence reports from across the galaxy. The reaction to humanity has been more positive than negative. How so? The President asked. Many species are tired of the old power structure. The same empires have controlled trade routes and resources for thousands of years. They see humanity as a chance for change. Admiral Hayes nodded. We're getting requests to join trade partnerships, scientific exchanges, and even mutual defense treaties. The galaxy is more ready for new ideas than we thought. Far away in the capital city of the Zolonian Empire, Admiral Kexthara stood before the Imperial Council. The massive chamber was filled with the Empire's most powerful leaders, all waiting to hear his report about the humans. Honored counselors. He began, I must tell you something that will be difficult to accept. The humans are not our enemies, but they are also not our subjects. They are something new. Counselor Vexther, an old Zolonian with scars from many battles, spoke up. You were defeated by one ship. How can you say they are not our enemies? Because they could have destroyed our entire fleet, Kexthara replied. Their technology is far beyond ours. But instead of killing us all, they let us live. They wanted to talk, not conquer. The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some counselors demanded revenge, while others wanted to understand how the humans had become so powerful. Silence, shouted the Supreme Counselor, a massive Zolonian who had ruled for over a century. Admiral Kexthara explained this human technology. How did they defeat our greatest fleet? Kexthara activated a holographic display. They don't fight. The way we do. We use formation tactics that have worked for thousands of years. They use something called asymmetric warfare. They attack from unexpected directions with weapons we've never seen before. What kind of weapons? Asked another counselor. Kinetic projectiles that pass through energy shields. Artificial intelligence. That controls dozens of ships at once. And most dangerous of all, they think in ways we never considered. The Supreme Counselor was quiet for a long moment. What do you recommend? We should try to understand them, Kexthara said. Fighting them again would only lead to more defeats. But if we can learn from them, perhaps we can improve our own military. On the Liberty, now orbiting Earth, Commander Chun was training a new crew. The ship had become humanity's flagship, and everyone wanted to serve on it. The bridge was filled with Earth's best officers, all eager to explore the galaxy. Remember, Chun told the new navigation officer, we're not just representing Earth anymore. We're representing the idea that the galaxy can change. Every species is watching us. Lieutenant Torres, now promoted to commander, looked up from his station. Sir, we're receiving a communication from the Altarian Republic. They want to invite us to their homeworld for a cultural exchange. Accept the invitation, Chun replied. Dr. Miller will be excited. She's been wanting to study their peaceful society. Chief Engineer Rodriguez entered the bridge with a smile on her face. Commander, I have good news. The new engine modifications are working perfectly. We can now travel twice as fast as before. How did you manage that? Chun asked. I combined human engineering with some ideas from the Kethian trade partners. Turns out, working together makes everyone stronger. In the depths of space, Jake Morrison was aboard a new kind of ship. It was smaller than the Liberty, but it was designed for a special purpose. The ship was called the Harmony, and it was humanity's first diplomatic vessel. Ambassador Morrison, said his communications officer, we're approaching the vegan system. The local government is waiting to meet with us. Jake nodded. His title had changed from intelligence officer to ambassador, but his mission remained the same. He was building bridges between humanity and the galaxy. What do we know about the vegans? He asked. They're a peaceful species that specializes in agriculture, replied Dr. Karen Foster, the ship's biologist. They've been impressed by our environmental restoration technology. They want to learn how we cleaned up Earth's oceans. That's something we can definitely share, Jake said. Our planet was dying 200 years ago. Now it's healthier than ever. As the Harmony approached the vegan homeworld, Jake looked out at the green and blue planet below. It reminded him of Earth, but with 3 moons instead of 1. The sight filled him with hope for the future. Back on Earth, President Walsh was meeting with representatives from 12 different species. The meeting was taking place in the newly built Galactic Relations Center, a building designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Welcome to Earth, the president said to the assembled aliens. We're honored to have you here. Ambassador Valtara of the Altarians spoke first. President Walsh, we are amazed by what humanity has accomplished. Your species went from primitive technology to galactic-level advancement in just a few centuries. We had good teachers, the president replied. We learned from watching all of you, but we also learned from our own mistakes. The Kethian trade representative, a tall being with golden skin, raised his hand. We are interested in your manufacturing techniques. Your ships are built with precision we have never seen. We'd be happy to share our knowledge, President Walsh said, but we expect the same in return. Earth wants to learn as much as we want to teach. A smaller alien, representing the Aquatic Federation, spoke up. Our people live in the oceans of 12 different worlds. We have heard that humans have technology for underwater cities. We do, the president confirmed. Our oceans are full of floating cities and underwater research stations. We can show you how to build them. The meeting continued for hours, with each species sharing what they could offer and what they needed. It was the beginning of a new kind of galactic community, one based on cooperation instead of domination. Admiral Hayes watched the meeting from her office in the Pentagon. She felt proud of what humanity had accomplished, but she also knew that their work was just beginning. Admiral, said her assistant, you have a message from the Liberty. They're ready to begin the next phase of exploration. What's the mission? Admiral Hayes asked. They're going to the galactic core. There are rumors of ancient technology there, and several species want to explore it together. Admiral Hayes smiled. A joint mission. That's exactly what we need. Send them my approval. As the sun set over Earth, Admiral Hayes looked up at the stars. Each point of light represented a world, a species, a potential friend or ally. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. The galaxy was still a dangerous place, full of empires and conflicts. But now it was also full of possibilities. Humans had proven that they could fight when necessary, but they preferred to build bridges. The age of human isolation was truly over. The age of cooperation had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.